One of the videos that they'll see playing there is Edgar Hansen from Deadliest Catch, and I know that, in fact, I remember the story from the Mid-America Trucking Show where you folks were telling me that Edgar actually sent a letter to you guys and said, you know, I'm using your product, and you want to talk about extreme conditions. These guys don't mess around. They don't just grab anything. They don't just grab a product. They want to use what's best. And when you're in those extreme conditions like they are in Deadliest Catch, and all of America sees it, that's a huge testimonial for you guys.
Yeah, it really was, and we're very pleased. Edgar's a great guy, as you know, from the TV show,
right.
And he was master mechanic on the Northwestern, a fishing boat, and they go out to the Bering Sea.
Right.
And the seas are, you know, when you see that TV show, you get an idea of how hazardous that is.
Yeah.
But he really depends on Delo. In fact, we do his whole boat. And he wrote us a letter, just like you said, and said, hey, I use your products. I've had great luck, because he was having trouble having to kind of rebuild his engine every time he came back from a season.
Wow.
He put Delo in, didn't have to do that.
Yeah.
And so he was really excited. He wrote us a note, said he'd like to tell others, so we kind of got together.
Yeah.
And now he kind of comes to trade shows, he represents, but as a master mechanic, as somebody on a boat who really, in a very severe condition, I mean, they depend on it. Something goes wrong, you can't just go down and call a tow truck. You really got a problem.
Yeah.
He really wanted a good product that would get
Sure.
him there. And it's a similar thing to the truckers, right? They depend on the products, too,
Yeah.
for their livelihood in a very similar way.
Yeah, in fact, you guys earlier in the tour, you know, and I kind of get ahead of myself because it was a really great tour, but earlier in the tour they will learn about the formulation and about you know what goes into the product. So for those, you know, listening here on the radio, what is it that you want them to know about the Delo product and what goes into it that makes it superior, as Edgar Hansen and plenty of drivers out there have already found out?
Yeah, thanks. I think a lot of people want to know what's that magic ingredient.
Yeah.
And really saying, hey, that's probably why there's you got scientists, there's some magic additive.
Sure.
But at Chevron, it really just doesn't happen that way. We just use kind of old-fashioned work ethic.
Right.
We work very hard. We use good ingredients. We use experience. We've had the same engineers working on our products for a long time.
Yeah.
And they just know what to do. So it's not a magic ingredient. It's American know-how and hard work, and just trying the things and having the experiences necessary.
Yeah.
So it's really a little bit like the pizza company. You know, it's better ingredients, you know, better pizza. It's a little bit like that. We use very good ingredients,
right,
and we just know how to put them together. And we've been doing that longer than anyone.
Right.
And that's how we get those results. But they really are terrific results. Customers tell us we have terrific products.
Yeah.
But it's just plain old hard work.
Yeah. And we also learn about protection for the entire truck. Not just about what goes into the engine, but, you know, protection from the front to the back here. What is it that drivers are going to learn, you know, in this tour about that protection, and what is it that you want them to know?
Well, I think that's a great point, because it's the simple things that make a difference. And I think most drivers are really, really good. They'll check their oil every day,
right,
but it can be confusing. There's lots of oils on coolants on the shelf and oils,
sure,
and they all
right,
look the same.
Yeah.
So what we try to do is we try to lay out. We have a picture of the truck, and we just try to lay out what product goes where.
Yeah.
We have a picture of it. We have the name. We try to make it simple, and we just encourage people to think through the whole truck. We get a little distracted with what oil we use. There's a
right,
lot of promotions around that.
Right.
But don't forget about the coolants. Don't
right,
forget about the greases.
Yeah.
Gear oils, transmission fluids, you use a lot less frequently. I mean, they go a long way before you have to deal with them. But think about what you're putting in there and just kind of take care of the whole truck.
Right.
And I think if you do that, that's where you win on the road.
Right.
And so we just try to help them with that. We just put it out there and say, hey, here's the products, here's where they go, here's where you need to be checking, and try to help people out with just a simple tools to kind of educate them on the whole truck, not just getting fixated on engine oils and maybe coolants.
In fact, you mentioned coolants at another point in this tour. You're going to learn about coolants. What is it that the message you're trying to get to drivers? I know in the past we've talked about, you know, concerns with maybe the universal coolants. What is it that drivers need to know specifically about their coolants for the ultimate protection here?
Well, I think that's a good point, because I think their choices make a difference. I mean, that's what they control absolutely. They choose which oil, they choose which coolants. Mm-hmm. And there's different coolants out there, and it's just mind-boggling as to which ones they are. Do you go by color? Do you go by, you know, what do you go by? Well, right, our suggestion, the simplest thing is sometimes the best thing. It's not always the cheapest in the short term. but there's coolants out there, ELC, extended life coolants,
Right.
and there's several. We have one, Delo ELC, but there's others. If you get an ELC coolant, you still need to test periodically, but you don't need to add the SCAs, and so it takes a little complexity out of your life.
Right.
They cost a bit more, but every time you do that SCA service, either you do it yourself, you have to buy these supplemental coolant additives, you have to buy these additives, you have to remember to do it. If you skip one, you're worried, have I done damage to my engine?
Right.
You can just put these ELCs in and just let them go.
Right.
For some of our competitors are 600,000 miles, ours happens to be 750,000.
Wow.
Before you can really do anything. So a little bit like your transmission fluids, a little bit like your gear oils, you still need to check them, but hey, you don't need to really mess with them, and that just gives you peace of mind, makes it a little bit easier to deal with, takes a little complexity out of your life, and saves you money, because if you add up all those SCAs where you might pay a little bit more at the beginning, you'll save money in the long term, because over that 2-3 year period, you'll lose less. You won't have to add the SCAs and spend that money for the service, or take the time yourself to open the hood and deal with this issue yourself.
Jim, one of the things I learned about on the, and I've heard it before, but there were some great details, and you'll learn about it on the tour, is the history that Delo has with the United States Navy. Tell us about that history.
Oh, that's a great story. So in 1941, and I wasn't there, although I may sound like it, but in 1941, if you think about it, in the Pacific, it was they were trying to protect very stretched out sea lanes, and they were trying to do it with submarines to try to protect them. And the submarines ran on diesel engines, and it takes a lot of space to store the oil if you think about changing them. And at the time, leading technology was just oil. There were no additives in it. And so what happened is they had to change 3 or 4 times. Well, they had to surface, and of course you were vulnerable as a submarine. That's not a good place to be, and you couldn't go anywhere because the diesel engines were tied up and you were changing the oil.
Right.
And the space. If you've ever toured one of those boats, you know how tight those things are. So the Navy came to Standard Oil of California, Chevron, and said, hey, is there anything you can do about this? We need this oil to go a little further. And so the scientists at the time added some additives, and they were able to triple their drain intervals. And there's a great quote from MacArthur, who kind of said, hey, thanks to people from Standard Oil, California. They really made a difference in the war and really helped them win. And it's just a great story.
Wow.
And it's just because it's this whole drain oil, protecting things a little further, helping people go a little bit further. It's just a great testament to Delo, and it's something we've been working on ever since.
In fact, the Delo name comes from the Navy.
Yeah, that's another thing. If you look at the pictures, and this is where Delo got its name. The military's famous for these acronyms, these little symbol names that mean something, but D, diesel engine lubricating oil, Delo. And you can actually see the pictures from 1941, and I think somebody at Chevron just decided to pick up and just start calling it that.
Yeah.
And it's been Delo ever since.
You guys also focus a lot on safety on this in this tour that you go through. We're proud to have you guys as a sponsor of the Million Mile Club on our show on Midnight Trucking Radio. But why is it so important to focus on the safety of today's drivers? Why was that one of the goals?
Well, first, I think safe drivers, just the whole, we're out there with the public every day and just creating the right image.
Yeah.
Safe drivers make more money, right? We all know if you get tied up in an accident, it's not a money-making proposition.
Right.
So those are a couple of the primary reasons, just keeping people safe, both the drivers and the people out there, because, the cars are not as well trained as most drivers.
Right.
And they show it every day. They practice poor driving habits.
Yes.
But the other thing we think there's a connection between the bottom line and safe drivers too. If you're a safe driver, what we believe is that you're on time more frequently. When you're on time more frequently, you get the more premium loads. We think you have less expenses. We also think it plays into equipment durability.
Sure.
Most mechanics, when you talk to them, will tell you that the safe drivers are also the better drivers. Tires last longer, equipment lasts longer.
Right.
They're just better drivers. So there's a real connection, and the driver is the core element. I mean, that's where we started this interview.
Yeah.
That's probably a good place to end it, but they're really in the middle of everything. They really drive, no pun intended, the whole thing.
Yeah.
And so we think really a good safe driver is absolutely the best driver out there. So we want to sponsor that any way we can. That's right for just a number of reasons. And so we're very proud to be a sponsor of Midnight Trucking Radio's Million Mile Club.
The truck's going to be on tour. Of course, it's here at the Great American Trucking Show, but it's going to be on tour, and they can go to the website to find out more, to experience this tour. I think it's just again, a wealth of information. You need to, take some time out of your day and check it out. So they can find out where it's going to be by going to the website, right?
Yeah, I think so. I think we're going to give Midnight Trucking Radio a copy of our schedule.
Yeah.
So you can go there, you can check it out. And we really think just have one-on-one dialogue. It's really up to you. You can do self-paced, so no one has to guide you through it.
Right.
You can explore these on your own, or you can ask somebody for help. We always staff it inside and have a question on this.
Yeah.
But we try to make it real easy. It's simple. It's for you. And so I think you'll enjoy it.
Yeah. The folks here that are walking up to the booth, one of the first things they'll see is this big bass boat. You guys are giving away a bass boat. Tell us about it.
Oh, yeah. We're excited about that. I think we all like to fish. And we all.
Oh, yeah.
The first question I get is, can I take it out and try it? That's what everybody wants to do.
Yeah, you got that from me earlier. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and, I want you to take me with you. But,
right.
It's a great bass boat. We're very excited. We have the guys at All Outdoors that we're partnering with on this thing, and of course that's a TV show. So, so I think I think it's great. We're going to give away in November to some trucker. We hope that will really enjoy it. Yeah. We branded it Delo, but it's really just trying to draw a little attention to the products, to let you know that, hey, we're out there. We hope you can consider us. When you're thinking about oil, and it's just fun. Yeah. So we're excited about the bass boat.
And Jim, if they want to win that bass boat, where can they go?
They go to www.deloperformance.com. And if they can go there, they'll find out all about the bass boat and can enter, and we'd like to give it to one of them.
All right. Jim, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it. You guys are always a wealth of information there at Chevron, and we appreciate your time today. Thank you.
Thank you.